the louder voice, the sharper tone, the invasive posture. These behaviors are designed to create emotional urgency inside another person, but performances need engagement to survive. The moment emotional engagement disappears, the performer becomes aware of the performance itself. That awareness often creates discomfort faster than confrontation would. A person who remains composed without becoming passive creates a strange kind of mirror. The aggressor begins seeing themselves more clearly. This does not mean becoming cold or emotionally distant. Many people misunderstand composure and turn it into suppression. Real steadiness feels natural, not forced. It is not about pretending pressure has no effect on you. It is about refusing to let it control your behavior. Even calm people feel tension. The difference is that they do not obey it immediately. They let the emotion pass through observation before turning it into action. That small delay changes everything because it keeps the mind connected to choice instead of impulse. People who intimidate others often depend on emotional speed. They create urgency because urgency weakens reflection. Think about how often pressure sounds rushed. Someone demands answers immediately, interrupts constantly, or pushes conversations toward emotional extremes before clarity has time to form. Slowing down internally becomes an act of quiet resistance against that pressure. Not dramatic resistance, just enough stillness to prevent someone else from deciding who you become in the moment. And the more grounded your presence remains, the more obvious the other person's instability becomes without you needing to expose it directly. Over time, this changes the way you experience conflict completely. You stop seeing intimidation as proof of another person's power and begin recognizing it as information about their emotional state. Truly centered people rarely need to force reactions from others. They do not need domination to feel stable. Pressure often comes from inner imbalance searching for control. Recognizing that truth makes intimidation feel less personal. And once fear stops shaping your reactions, your presence begins carrying a different weight entirely. That shift is subtle at first. You notice yourself listening more carefully instead of preparing emotional defenses before the other person even finishes speaking. Your body stops rushing toward escape. Your mind stops treating every difficult interaction like a threat to who you are. There is a steadiness that begins forming beneath the surface, and people can feel it even when you say very little. Some will respect it immediately. Others will challenge it because calmness reminds them of the control they lack within themselves. Stay grounded anyway. The goal is not to overpower anyone. It is to remain connected to your own center while pressure tries pulling you away from it. A person who can do that consistently becomes very difficult to manipulate because their reactions no longer belong to the room around them during moments of emotional tension. Intimidation begins losing its power the moment it is examined closely. That is why aggressive people often rely on emotional intensity instead of clarity. They speak in absolutes, throw accusations without detail, and push conversations into emotional territory before reflection has time to settle. The goal is rarely understanding. The goal is disruption. Once someone becomes emotionally overwhelmed, their thinking narrows. They stop analyzing what is actually being said and start reacting to the feeling created by the delivery. A sharp tone suddenly sounds like truth. Confidence starts sounding like truth. And broad claims gain influence simply because they arrive with force behind them. Most people do not notice how quickly they abandon observation during tense moments. Someone says, "You never handle pressure well," and the mind instantly moves toward defense. The emotional reaction arrives before the reasoning process even begins. That is where intimidation gains its advantage, not through logic, but through speed. Pressure tries to bypass reflection completely. It wants emotion to become immediate and automatic. But the second you slow the interaction down internally, something important changes. You stop absorbing statements emotionally and start observing them clearly. That small shift